when we came on last, I think it was with you, we had the Be Crafty stands that we decorated and did various bits and bobs on, and I had one spare. So I've actually painted it with, so I'm using the primrose and the cornflower, but we decided to use this as one of the papers from the 8x8, and we thought, you know, that goes really quite well. So I'm going to do something with that, but I'm just going to show how I got to this stage. And so I don't want to spend too long because I want to do it, do more on the stamping there. But basically, what I do, I did. You can either gesso your board. When I use the Pink Ink multi-surface strong colours like the pink and the dark purples, I don't prime it, I go straight on. But with a primrose yellow, you really do need to have a bit of a primer to get a true colour, true primrose. So what I do is I paint it on with a brush, neat, and then we'll go on with primrose.
So the first colour, what's that top colour?
This one, do you know, I can't remember what it is. Is it pale rose, or it's rose, I think? Rose pink, that's it. But what you get here, Yanis, is you get brush marks. So what I do with the sponge is I always sponge it.
That's a good idea.
And that just takes out the brush marks. It's something I just don't like to see. And that's what I do. And actually, while you're doing it, you can get some really nice texture and blending. So I'm just kind of blending the yellow and the pink to make
great on camera.
I would get rid of all my brush marks like that, and then to do the little texture that I've got on this one here, I use my bubble wrap.
We all have this.
Yes, which again is don't throw it away. It's great for texture. So let me just get a piece of tissue, just dry my brush because I don't want my brush too watery. And I've got a little bit of the hot pink left over from before, so I'm actually going to just mix that in with the rose pink, just make it a shade or two deeper. But it's just as a slightly deeper tone. Add a little bit more of the pink, deeper pink.
You strike me, Kathy, as someone who you'll look around your sort of craft room and think, how can I use something? How can I use it differently?
Now, do you know what? When I came in here last, one of the floor managers says, "Oh, I'm chucking this out. Do you want it?" I said, "Well, yes, please." And my paintbrushes has been in it ever since. I keep looking at it, and that's going to become something. I'm not quite sure what.
It's percolating.
Yes, it is. Something will come to me. But you know, that's as simple as that was. That's it, and that makes a great base for now, which to do what we're going to do.
Look, the quality of the paints. They are very, very good paints. And the thing with paints, not all paints are the same.
No.
And if you work with a good paint, and so many people, they've used the multi-surface paints from Pink Ink and raved by them, and that's, to me, that's a good sign.
Well, the sign of a good paint is if you add lots and lots of water, so you disperse the pigment and then you paint it and you've still got a good colour, you've got a good paint. If you've got a cheaper paint which would indicate there's less pigment, as you spread it with water, I've actually used some less good quality paints. I've done a painting that I thought was really good. I've gone away and come back and I thought, well, where is it? And it has disappeared, especially on fabric, it has disappeared. Because, it just disperses. There's not enough pigment in it, whereas these are highly concentrated with pigment.
They are very, very, very good.
Right.
Lots of options there, so do have a look.
So, but this is one of the planes. So what I want to do is try and keep this, and I want to tear it. So I'm not quite sure.
Is this the first time you brought out papers?
Yes.
Now, I love seeing the company growing, because last time you visited us, first time you brought out dies, now beautiful papers.
Yeah.
How did that come about with the papers?
Well, we had wanted to do it for a while anyway. That had been something that we had been aiming to do. And then it coincided with the trade fair that we thought we could do the papers and do the stand, because we could launch. Well, we do launch at a trade show. You don't sell. So they obviously didn't come out then. But the papers were blown up to about 8 foot high and put on the trade stand walls.
Incredible.
And then from that, we have then obviously made the papers. And right, I'm just going to, that's my line, so I'm just going to trim that down. And then what's left, I'm going to stamp on. So that's going to be one side. And then I'm going to do I'm going to use my Rhino. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to do it very, very pale, because I want to paint on top of my paper. Okay. Now the paper it's actually heavyweight. It's 210, I think.
Oh, perfect.
Acid
so
free.
Cardstock, yeah.
Cardstock. But it will buckle a little bit with paint, especially if I use lots of water. Yeah. But initially, I just want to get my image on there to show where to paint. But actually, in the end, I'm hoping it's not going to show. It's just really for the benefit of me for painting. So right, I've got to bear in mind it's that side, so that's coming across here. Now, that I don't think is going to show, so I'm actually going to just shift it over a little bit to about there. So down he goes, or she goes. Yeah, so from the papers, we have then taken the stamp. So it was a plan. It's taken about a year to plan to do the stamps, the papers and the stand all at the same go. Nice. So yeah, we're now thinking about next year's trade stand. So
we're using the Rhinosaurus stamp. If you do want to get that individually, it is available.
Right, now it's very pale, which is exactly what I want. I'm just going to dry it off because I'm actually going to tear round it, and I don't want to smudge it with my fingers because this is the Versacraft, and the Versacraft, unless you heat fix it and I add water to it, it's going to move, and I don't really want it to move, especially if I've got moisture on my fingers. Yeah. Now this is what I've not done before with this, so what I'm going to do, I don't want to go right up to the edge. I want to keep a little bit of the white paper, so I'm going to... The white paper I don't want to cover up because I think it would make a really smart edge. So I'm going almost up to it. Oh yes, this is going to be great, I think.
I love the fact that you're experimenting on live TV too. No fear. Oh, that's
as I keep saying to people, at the end of the day, all it is a piece of paper. I mean, if it goes horribly wrong, what's the worst that can happen? You just get another piece out, and the next time you do it, you'll do it a bit better.
That's how we learn.
Yeah. Well, I'm just taking this nasty edge off here.
So you're a fan of big scissors?
I should really have a guillotine, but that's where it's going to go. So my base is going to go across the bottom. That's going to be trimmed. And I want to keep this sort of white edge. In a way, I would have preferred a little bit more at the top, but I think with paint, it won't matter. So I'm going to keep that that I don't want. Right, now what I'm doing, Yanis, is I'm following the line, but I don't mind if I cover it because I'm going to re-stamp over the top to define it. So it's just for me to see where I'm going to add colour. Okay. Can you see all the mica in these paints? It's just lovely. It has a really pretty sheen to it in the two.
Now, we've got viewers watching us in America, Europe and the UK right now. Can I say, I know we're based in the UK, but wherever you're watching us, so whether it is in the UK, Europe or the States, if you're watching right now, you're part of the Hochanda family. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope we are inspiring you. But I tell you, pink ink designs never fail to inspire us. I love your work. Okay.
This is so not going to make sense until I put my top colour on, but and I think I'm missing a bit of the horn there, so I'll put that in. And then I'm going to add some pink as well. Obviously, I've got to bear in mind my colours. I'm trying to stick to similar sort of tones, but I do need to get some depth. So I might put some pink on the flowers.
Right. And you've taken a rhino which could be a very strong image. You've still got that strength of the rhino, but by adding the flowers and the detail, I think you've also given it a softness and a beauty too.
Yes, well, I think she could be feminine, but in actual fact, even with the flowers, because he, she is a masculine image, it could be a male, so you could make it for a man's card. I mean, with Gail using the liquid pencils and it's all greys, that would make such a lovely masculine card, I think.
Did you hear the story? You'll particularly like this, that they're dyeing rhino horns pink to stop people stealing them.
Are they?
Yeah.
Good idea.
I think so. Why anyone would want to take poor
Well, exactly, who would? But to darken it, I'm adding a little bit of the Versacraft, so we can use it as a paint. Just add loads of water. In fact, somebody called in earlier and said, why do I keep dabbing my brush on my tissue? I always have a paintbrush in my hand and always have a tissue in my hand. And if I put my brush in water and pick some colour up and I feel that there's too much, you can see I just take a little bit off before I go on. It's probably
so
more
gives
habit
you a bit
now.
more control.
Yes.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm going over the now. I can still see, you might not be able to see, but I can still see the mouth.
Yeah.
So I want a little bit of shading. I'm going to put some shading around the eye. That's going to be redefined when I go over and stamp again.
How are we getting on then?
Well, all I've done, it's easy for me to just keep going and going, but all I've done is just build up some of the crimson and a bit more depth. Okay. So now, I don't want anybody to miss the white, because that's going to be my last bit before I re-stamp. Okay. And again, as I always do, just a little bit as highlight. Yeah. Let's move this over here so we can see a bit better. And then I'll dry it off, re-stamp, and then we'll attach it. So how long have I got altogether?
14 minutes.
Oh, yay. You see, you say 14. Is it really 14?
It's 14 minutes.
Yeah. I have 14 minutes, or the...
you can have as long as you like.
Oh, yeah.
The show's got 14 minets.
Great.
We're down to 6 minutes now.
Right, can you see?
Yeah. I'm going to tease. It's a joke. Yeah.
Oh, dear. And I can always put this white back in again once I've done, I'm going to go over with black. Yeah. Once I've seen if there's anything missing, I can re-add. But so Mel said to me, well, why don't you stamp it black first and then paint it? Can you see this flower I've gone over the edges? Doing it this way round, if you're not as accurate at painting as you would like to be, this is a brilliant way of doing it.
Doesn't jar the eye, you don't notice the outlet, you've gone outside.
Yes, and sometimes I think we're so obsessed with I've got to be really, really neat and go within the lines. But actually this way, you could, like for example, I can go with my white and just, smudge it around, move it around with my finger, move it around with a sponge, and be less sort of concerned about it.
Gives you a bit more freedom.
Yeah,
it's a good
exactly.
Tip.
So I'm nearly done with the white. You see, I'm even adding to the artwork that's actually
in the design.
Yeah, and even you see this sort of little pattern that's in the paper. That's all hand drawn. I've hand drawn that all myself.
Wow.
So no digital drawing at all.
And that's what we always get with you is, and it's lovely, I know you bring in your book, and if you're a regular to Hochanda and Pink Ink Design shows, you'll see that Kathy and Mel like to share the process, the evolution, and why I love Pink Ink Designs, and I do have Pink Ink Design stamps, and I do invest in Pink Ink. I'll tell you why. Because I want to invest in something that's original, and I know these aren't images, I'm not knocking anyone else, but these have been originally hand-drawn, not just taken off a stock image and just gone somewhere, so someone else designed it and you've just brought it over. You're bringing us something here that's beautifully drawn, you've shown the journey with it as well, because I know it's a real collaboration between yourself and Mel.
It is. Right, now I think I might be ready to stamp over, and this is where this will all make a bit more sense. So I'm going to use my VersaFine because I think we've sold out of everything else.
Did you prefer to craft sitting down?
When I'm at home, yes, I do actually. I do, only because I get backache and hip ache and all that sort of thing. But yes, I just find it easier. Although when I stamp, I do stand up to stamp just to get a bit of pressure. Now the reason I'm taping bits down is because I need to hover to line up as best I can, and I need this to be as flat as possible. So I'll just put some tape on to make it flat, and then we can remove that in a minute. So, okay, right, so we've got our Rhino stamp. Make sure I haven't got any fluff on it or anything.
Oh, we did have a question. Sorry, I meant to say this earlier on. So this is from the call centre, and someone was asking best way to clean your stamps.
Well, on our Pink Inkers group page, this is a question that is a regular question that comes up, and people have all sorts of different things. I'm afraid to say I was one of those people who I didn't like dirty stamps. I used to use alcohol to clean them. Well, they said, oh no, you mustn't do that at all. So now all I do is I use washing up liquid and a scrubbing brush, and I just scrub it and it comes up a treat.
Perfect.
But they all have different ideas about it. And right, now what I'm going to do is I've got to try and line up as best I can. Now that's why we like the foam pads, because as you're pushing your stamp down, you've got room to manoeuvre.
Wiggle room, yeah.
And what I do is I try and find little points, like the points of the flower, the top of here, maybe this bit down here, and I try and line up.
Reference marks.
Yeah, reference. But if you don't get it spot on, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. Let's start again. So I'm sort of all right there. I'm sort of all right there.
Nice. Would you ever use a stamping platform?
Yeah, you could do, but I have tried it. It's not. I like the sort of randomness of it, and I actually sometimes like it when it doesn't fit exactly. Call me bizarre, but
I think you've done a good job there.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, you don't know till you lift up. But as we showed on that first one, you could see where 3 lots didn't register, and I would prefer that than something that is exact.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Moment of truth.
Oh, wow.
Now, can you see how that defines the painting?
Transformed that image.
Now, if I were to do it the other way round, it wouldn't look, the line work wouldn't look as crisp, and it wouldn't look so effective.
That is incredible.
So we can now dry this off.
Because you're right, watching it and seeing you earlier on and you're going over it, I think if someone would be thinking, well, what's going on?
So, for example, this flower here, where I showed you I went over the edges and I haven't lined it up straight, you can see that actually looks really pretty.
Yeah, that is stunning.
So, yeah, I'm pleased with that. Now, I've gone over my tape. Now, I'm not worried about that because I can put that in later with a pen. And there you go, we'll add that in a minute.
Lovely.
But I'm chuffed to bits with that. That's turned out really well. And I like the fact that some of it's printed onto the white.
Yeah.
So when that's on its background, that's going to show up really well.
Oh, this is going to be good.
But how long have I got?
7 minutes.
7, yay. Clean my mat a little bit. I need to bear in mind that I'm going to put this across the bottom. I was going to do it down the side, but actually I think I'm going to have it across the bottom. So that's going to go there, and I want his foot just tucked a little bit behind, so it's going to go like that, and then this is going to run along there as well.
So really getting them, I like how you kind of deconstructed the papers, tearing into them. I'm going to do that. That just adds a whole different dynamic.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
So I'm just going to get the paint off my brush, and now, like I said, I didn't know I was going to do this, so the only PVA I brought with me is the PVA that we put on our fabric, but I know I haven't stirred it, so I should have a little bit more lumpy stuff at the bottom.
Well done.
So I'm hoping that'll do. Now this is going to buckle, and it's going to look ghastly for a minute, a little bit, but when it's dry, it's going to dry nice and flat. So I'm not bothered about that. Again, I still want to get the thicker stuff at the bottom. As you can see, it's going on pink because I haven't cleaned my brush properly.
Sorry.
But never mind.
I love, like a true crafter, finding the PVA at the bottom.
Yeah. And then just slip that little foot under, up a bit. Yeah, I need thicker PVA.
Okay.
But we'll let it go.
Do you want us to try and find you some glue?
No, I think people can get the idea of where this is going. It's just so we can see the white.
I think that's
it is going. Yeah, and if I can
just
I can get the PVA there. Now what I do is I always go over the top and slightly glaze my paper as well.
Okay. Lovely.
And this is particularly when I'm using newsprint, I tend to glaze.
Yeah.
Because newsprint can sort of tear and is dusty. I probably need it less on this, but I just think it adds a nice little glaze to it.
Yeah.
Seals it down. I mean, you can go over the whole piece if you wanted to. But can you see how it's looking? It's going to be gorgeous. I'm pleased with this.
Yeah. Oh, we like this.
And then we're going to go across the bottom with my band. Make sure it's straight. There we go, that's sealed on. Right, like I say, it's going to buckle, but it will go flat. It's a bit like wallpaper. Eventually, it does, all the bubbles come out. Just put a little bit down the side in case I haven't gone that far. And then we'll dry it off. then I would slice down there with the scalpel so it's nicely edged, and then I can't do it at the minute because it's wet, but I would then buff with this turquoise, which is the same as turquoise here. I'd buff all the way around the edges. So I don't know if I've got time to do that, but I would need to dry this off first.
How are we getting
right,
on?
can you see? It's now going nice and flat because it's drying, still a little bit wet.
Okay.
I'd ideally like to dry it a bit more. I tend to use a scalpel when I'm trimming round edges because I think it makes a much nicer edge. Hang on, let's go round this way. There it is.
Nice.
Oh, bless you.
Okay.
Somebody's got the sneezes.
Yeah.
Yeah, always be careful with the scalpel. Yeah, that's not quite dry. Anyway.
That's all right.
Right, and then quickly, ever so quickly.
We've got like a minute and a half, so we're okay. I know you love to finish projects.
I do, and I always get very frustrated with myself because I think, oh yeah, I've got loads of time, and then I never finish, and then I get disappointed that people don't see a finished piece. But doesn't that look lovely?
I think so.
Again, as it dries, this will go flat.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And it just ties it all together. But this technique of painting first, no, of course not, and then I'll do the same with the bottom.
Isn't that incredible? Ooh, ho, ho.